August the 11th, 2015. There is a school in the outer southeastern suburbs of Melbourne with a special story. Alkira Secondary College in Cranbourne North is a non-denominational school with around 1,000 students. The school is about to hold its third annual Holocaust Remembrance Day ceremony.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, Mr. Shaw, staff and students. We would like to welcome you all to our Holocaust Remembrance ceremony at Alkira Secondary College. My name is Ethan and this is Chantal, and we are your MCs for today. ACOM will be delivering the Welcome to Country to begin our ceremony.
We would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are gathered and pay my respect to the elders past and present.
It is with great pride that I am able to stand here today and welcome you all to our third annual Holocaust ceremony. Throughout the late 1930s and early 1940s, arguably the biggest atrocity ever committed at the hands of mankind took place throughout Nazi Germany. We are lucky enough to have the opportunity to listen to survivors as well as talk to them about their experiences to ensure that they live on throughout our generation, our succeeding generation, and the many generations to follow.
Once again, we would like to welcome you to our third Holocaust Remembrance ceremony at Alkira Secondary College. The importance of remembering the Holocaust was mentioned by the Honourable Julia Gillard MP in 2012. She says, "The more time passes from the Shoah, the more imperative it is to ensure that memories do not fade, the history is not rewritten, that the Holocaust and its meaning is represented to every generation, that we never fail to bear witness, so we pledge once more here today, joining with people of goodwill in every country to say, never again, never ever again." This ceremony is to honour the memory of the 6 million Jewish people who perished during the period of the Holocaust, 1.5 million of whom were children. This ceremony at Alkira Secondary College is to ensure that this great loss to the world is never forgotten.
Let the rain come and wash away the ancient grudges, the bitter hatreds held and nurtured over generations. Let the rain wash away the memory of the hurt, the neglect. Then let the sun come out and fill the sky with rainbows. Let the warmth of the sun heal us wherever we are broken.
Let it burn away the fog so that we can see each other clearly, so that we can see beyond labels, beyond accents, gender or skin colour. Let the warmth and brightness of the sun melt our selfishness, so that we can share the joys and feel the sorrows of our neighbours. And let the light of the sun be so strong that we will see all people as our neighbours.
Let the earth, nourished by rain, bring forth flowers to surround us with beauty, and let the mountains teach our hearts to reach upward to heaven.
Now, Peter will talk to you later about the Holocaust, about his personal memories and experiences. The Holocaust is not your personal memory, however, it is your inheritance. The great achievement of your teachers, the great achievement of this school, is that you now understand that the Holocaust is your inheritance, and you are saying never again. On behalf of Courage to Care, on behalf of all decent people who applaud positive human behaviour, I thank Alkira Secondary College.
In 1945, at the end of the war, there were thousands, tens of thousands of children and adults walking around Europe looking for each other. Children looking for parents, parents looking for children. And they never found each other. Many of them never ever found themselves again. Prejudice, discrimination, racism and bigotry was at the root of the Holocaust, and we must be very careful not to let these evils take a root in our communities. Stand up and fight prejudice you see around you. You have an opportunity and a responsibility in contributing to make a healthy community in which you are going to live. A community that has learned from the mistakes of the past in order to make a better future. The way to fight this is to get to know the stranger, embrace them, include them, and make them feel safe and welcome. Recognize our common humanity rather than the differences between us. As the song goes, I am Australian, we are one, but we are many. Thank you.
Today and always we remember the Holocaust, and on the way it demonstrates human capacity for evil and for good. Together we affirm our commitment and foster understanding, respect and justice in our communities to ensure the lesson of the Holocaust are never forgotten. Thank you.
We would like to thank you, the students and staff of Alkira Secondary College, for hosting us at this special Holocaust Remembrance Day.
When we reflect on the Holocaust, we recall the past in order to ensure that it is not forgotten and commit ourselves to ensuring that such tragedies and atrocities never again repeat themselves in the present day or in the future.
The Holocaust is a crucial part of our Jewish identity, and we are humbled and moved to be here with you today on this solemn occasion as we work together to commemorate those lost in the Holocaust and commit ourselves to remember and never forget.
When they changed the law,
you looked the other way.
When they came at night,
you looked the other way.
When they put us in ghettos,
you looked the other way.
When they put us in concentration camps,
you looked the other way.
When they took us on death marches,
you looked the other way.
When they slaughtered our children,
you looked the other way.
When they come for you,
who will be left to look the other way?
Most of the 6 million Jews who were murdered during the Holocaust have not yet been identified. It is important to give these victims of the Holocaust a name and therefore an identity.
Each guest, teacher and student is invited to light a candle from the person next to them. Whilst your candle is being lit, say the name of the person from the Holocaust that you are remembering. Please hold on to the candle for the rest of this ceremony. We will now observe a short period of silence.
The last, the very last, so richly, brightly, dazzling yellow, perhaps if the sun's tears would sing against a white stone.
Such yellow is carried lightly way up high. It went away, I'm sure, because it wished to kiss the world goodbye.
For 7 years I've lived in here, penned up inside this ghetto, but I have found what I have loved here. The dandelions called to me, and the white chestnut branches in the court. Only I never saw another butterfly.
The butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live in here, in the ghetto.
Learning about the Holocaust and those who were stripped of their basic human rights, followed by the slaughter of human beings in crematoriums and gas chambers, breaks my heart. It astonishes me at how one person, followed by one nation, has a belief that they have complete power over another race. And furthermore, the belief that it is acceptable to exterminate an entire race of innocent people. Men were left nothing but flesh and bone. So must we learn to pay our respects to those who endured such tolerance in past experiences, and must we learn a lesson from such events and promise one another that we will, despite our differences, we will care for one another and never deny anyone as being a human being. Now must we say, rest in peace to those whose lives were taken from such atrocities in our past.
What does the Holocaust mean to me? In reflecting on this, I came to realise the Holocaust has meant different things in different periods of my life. My first memory of the Holocaust was learning about it in high school. I didn't really understand the magnitude of the Holocaust then, but upon entering high school, during humanities we learnt in depth in history of World War II and the horrors of the Hitler regime. All I could feel was grief for the fallen and relief hearing the stories of the ones who escaped.
It's surprising that when I went into the class thinking that this was a piece of history that was on the past and was just something to reflect on, and then I started to realise that on a smaller scale, the same genocide happens all around the world. This is a piece of history that is still very alive today. I have learned the past events really reflect on the problems we see happening today. What I have learned through the subject I will always carry through life with me. It is a lesson to everyone that there are problems outside our own lives. It is so important that we stand up against injustice so that such tragic events should never reoccur.
Jewish Holocaust Museum Development Officer Ruben Zilberzbik tells Fairfax Media that Miss Costa's actions were a shining example of the best of human behaviour. It's about people being upstanders opposed to bystanders, at great risk to themselves and their entire families, and Constance is an ordinary person who did extraordinary things.
We will remember them.
We will remember them. Please blow out your candle.
Throughout history, we are reminded of often tragic events that shape our humanity and our culture. None more so than the Holocaust. We must never forget. Our college supports any action to improve the empathy of our young, who fortunately have not had to survive these tragedies or have families directly involved in such tragedies. They do, however, live in a world that is often plagued with fear of terrorism, climate change, racism, discrimination, drug addiction, domestic violence and mental health. Our college, we value the importance of education and programs and projects and ceremonies to remember the events that shape our world and our lives, the Holocaust, Anzac Day, the Nanjing Massacre, apartheid, civil rights and respect for our Indigenous people and multiculturalism. All help to give our children a greater awareness of the suffering and the endurance, of the hatred and the humanity, of perseverance and resilience, of the courage to care, to speak out and to sign up.
On behalf of the staff and students of Alkira Secondary College, we would like to thank you for attending this remembrance ceremony.
The other thing that I introduced as part of the curriculum is you have to look at leadership, and so I looked at people that were righteous among the nations as an example of good leadership, and the students then analysed leadership looking at these people and did an investigation of the concept of leadership using people that were righteous among the nations, such as Schindler and other people. And then the ceremony developed from there. But when I think about my own schooling, the only things I actually remember are things that were really hands-on that made an impact. So if we run ceremonies like this at schools, we leave a lasting impact on the students that will take them into their grown-up years, their years as parents themselves, something that they'll remember because they were actively a part of it, they owned it. I want to put out there into the Victorian and wider Australian community the challenge that every school should have a responsibility to not run, well, to start to run an Anzac ceremony because that's part of their heritage, but also to remember the Holocaust and other really significant events that have happened in world history through ceremonies and other ways of remembering, like by creating gardens, by creating memorials, by having arts displays, anything that's going to make a permanent impact on those students that are a part of it. I've taken students twice to Courage to Care. We went when they were at St Margaret's, and we also went at John Paul College, and it had an impact on the students. And it's great because the impact, you have survivors talk, they have displays there, but then you work in small groups. And what's really good in the small groups is you talk about standing up. Do you have the courage to be the person who's going to stand up against something that's wrong? And I like that it challenges students about that concept, to be an upstander, not just to be someone who's going to watch what's going to happen and just let it happen.
You have been watching extracts from the 3rd Annual Holocaust Remembrance Day ceremony conducted by Alkira College in Cranbourne North, Victoria on August 11, 2015. The ceremony was conceived by the school and teachers Nicole Scott and Christine Wolfe, recipients of the Pauline Glass Study Grant from the Royal Wallenberg unit of B'nai B'rith, who attended the Gandil Holocaust Studies program for Australian educators at Yad Vashem in Israel. For further information about the study grant or conducting your own Holocaust Remembrance ceremony, please contact Courage to Care on 039 500 2313 or email office@couragetocare.org.au.
I'm Stephanie White. We're at Alkira Secondary College and we just finished our Holocaust ceremony.
Beautiful. In your speech, you mentioned that your family's German. Can you tell me a bit about how you first learned about the Holocaust through your family?
So my whole mother's family are all from Germany. So I guess it was sort of already known since I have family that are all from Germany, and my nan's father also being a Jew. So I spoke to my nan a bit about it and found out heaps of stuff about Jewish history in our family, although I already had an interest in history subjects, so that was a little bit more of a reason for why I wanted to learn about it.
So when you started studying about the Holocaust and the war at school, was that compulsory at the time, or did you start studying about it in the electives? Or?
When I first started studying it, it was compulsory, and I had a real interest in it. We did World War I, and then the year after we went to World War II. So I really enjoyed those, and then when I had the opportunity to be able to choose Holocaust as an individual elective this year, I thought it would be really good to study it.
So this whole part of the history, obviously it must have had a pretty big effect on you.
Yeah, well, I have family that were actually in the Holocaust, so it's pretty weird to think that, you know, years and years back, that was my family there. So it was a bit confronting, but it was really good to actually learn about some of the things that have happened from people from where I'm from.
And do you think the ceremony today helps students who obviously have no background like you do, so don't have family who really lived that thing? Do you think they learn all those sorts of things from this ceremony, from the studies here at Alkira?
Definitely. I think a lot of people went into this elective with not a lot of knowledge, and I think it's important for them to learn about the Holocaust because there are so many things that are so similar around today that are exactly the same, just on a smaller scale. So I think it's important that they do learn it, and I think it has been really useful to a lot of students.
And what are the key takeaways they learn about that, which students can really apply to, you know, other, as you said, smaller events that are happening today?
Just really being there for other people who go through racism, anything religious, hate. It's a pretty broad subject, but learning about the Holocaust, it just shows you, you know, people think that racism is really bad around today, and then you get a bit of a glimpse of what it used to be like. So it sort of helps you to really understand their perspective on things and how their family have gone through things. So yeah, it just gives you a bit of an insight of how bad it really used to be and how bad it really could be still to come. So.
And have you ever seen something in the schoolyard or outside of school that you've had to sort of step in and say, hey, that's not really okay, you shouldn't really do that?
Yeah, I have. We have a really big, there's heaps of people here from Afghanistan, heaps of them are refugees, and although a lot of them don't, you know, they get labelled as, you know, terrorists and stuff, and I've heard stories from them who their family have actually been killed and they're being labelled as them. So even though people say that they're joking, a lot of the time you can see that it really does affect them. So there have been a few times where I have stepped in because it's really important that people understand how serious it actually is.
And coming back to the ceremony, what's your favourite part of the ceremony?
I think my favourite part was definitely hearing from the Holocaust survivor. You don't get a lot of opportunities to actually hear from people who have actually been through stuff like that. So to have actually met someone and heard their personal insight on it rather than just hearing facts and stuff through history and what you learn in class. I think it's important to learn stuff from an individual who have actually gone through that. So that was definitely my favourite.
My name is Mitchell and we're at Alkira Secondary College. We just held our third annual Holocaust Remembrance ceremony in the theatre. Well, generally I just make a speech to kind of open the ceremony, so just what the Holocaust means to me and what I know about it and the purpose of the ceremony. So today I spoke about how we learnt about it in last year's English class through Eli Wiesel's memoir Night, and then I just outlined that that there aren't multiple races, there's just one, which is the human race. And then I just went into that today was just about remembering.
Beautiful. And when did you first hear about the Holocaust?
If I had to put a number on it, I'd probably say about year 8. I didn't know a lot about it going into year 7, but about year 8 humanities we started to talk about it, and then we further did a more in-depth study in year 9. And then that kept progressing through to year 10, 11 and now finally in year 12.
Beautiful. And what effect did it have on you when you first started learning about it?
At first I was very shocked. I couldn't comprehend how it could have happened and why. Then when I read Eli Wiesel's memoir Night, I was just emotionally affected because kids our age, even younger, were being murdered before they even had a chance to know what life actually was. Today's ceremony helps students and staff gain a wider insight into the Holocaust and to ensure that the stories live on, because we are here to acknowledge that although the survivors aren't going to be around forever, we need to ensure that their stories are around and they're preserved so that it won't happen again.
And did you have to do anything special last year as school captain? Did you have to, with regards to this ceremony or anything like that?
Yep, so I made a speech last year as school captain, very similar to the one that I did today. I just talked about, I opened the ceremony with the other school captain, Lynn, and we talked about, just introduced the ceremony, introduced our guests, and said what the ceremony was all about, and about remembering and ensuring that that the Holocaust never happens again.
And what's your favourite part of the ceremony, and why?
The candles, because it just gives us a time to reflect on the ceremony, and it's just a really solemn moment because there's silence and just the candles. Everyone's all thinking about the same thing. It's not multiple things happening. Everyone's united in remembering.
So I'm Holly and we are at Alkira Secondary College in the conference room, the front office, and I am currently school captain.
Beautiful. And what have we done today?
We had our annual Holocaust ceremony, the 3rd year running.
And what's your role in that ceremony?
I had to, along with our other male school captain, I had to give a speech on my personal reflection about the Holocaust. I just talked about how sad it was that these atrocities could happen, and I found it unbelievable that it could take place and people could be so cruel.
Yeah, beautiful. And do you think it's obviously an important thing to do?
Oh, I think it's so important because it tells people that it actually did happen, because I know some people say, well, it didn't happen, but it's living evidence proof that it has and did happen.
Yeah. And what's your favourite part of the ceremony?
Probably the survivor talking. For somebody to living and breathing who survived that, I just find it unbelievable to be in the same room as them.
Can you actually believe that there is, living survivors here
in
Australia?
I can't believe it at all. Even across the world, I can't believe that somebody could survive such traumatic events. When really I learnt about it, I had never really heard about it before, so that gave me a real insight into what it was actually about and what happened, and learning about it in English and all, not just Night, all the other things, all different people.
My name is Ethan. We are at Alkira Secondary College and we had our Holocaust ceremony.
Beautiful. And what's your role in the ceremony?
My ceremony was, I was one MC. I'm studying the Holocaust class at the moment, and my teacher decided to pick me and my other MC, Chantel, to be the MCs today. So
is the Holocaust study something you can choose? Is it compulsory?
Yeah, it's an elective in Year 10 that you can choose, but you learn about the Holocaust in the compulsory history class.
And that's before you, like the years before the...
Oh, that's still in Year 10, and yes, you study the Holocaust in Year 10 as well.
Beautiful. And what have you learnt in the studies in the specific Holocaust elective?
Just all the different kinds, like the children's life before the Holocaust and how that came in during the Holocaust, how they still did their ceremonies, and just different small stuff about the Holocaust, about the hiding, the ghettos, how they were all removed from where they lived and put into these ghettos. Yeah, so we learnt about the transportation of the Jews and how they had no prior knowledge that they were going to be put in extermination and death camps. They just were told, you will be put on this train and you'll be taken to a separate location. And, you know, it was just shocking to know that they thought it was just practically almost like a vacation. They were just moving from their normal homes to another place, and they ended up winding up in places like Auschwitz where they got murdered. I just couldn't imagine it. Like, just imagine, you know, your parents or anyone, the police saying, oh yeah, you know, you'll be escorted out of your house, you're being put on a train to go into, I don't know, say inner city Melbourne, and then you hop off at, I don't know, say Richmond Station, you get put in the MCG and you get killed. Like, it's just unbelievable. I couldn't imagine being put in that situation and how I would feel arriving. Just no words.
And what's your favourite part of this whole ceremony?
My favourite part of the ceremony was when we lit the candles, because it's just a special sort of tradition that the Jews took part of, and just to remember a certain specific Jew that we researched and, you know, remember them for who they were, even though they had no voice. They weren't anything in particular. They were just another person. So as you would see, if you say if you were gone today, no one would remember you for you. You'd just be another human that just went missing, and it was good to remember that specific person.
So did you study about specific Jews?
Yes, we got given a name, and we had to study them and research about their lives and what they did.
And who was the person you had to research?
I researched Yehuda Bacon. Yehuda Bacon was transported from Poland and put into an extermination camp where he was labouring. He had to work.
Was it hard finding information about him? Did he do anything like really special or anything? Or
not really. You just had to sort of not think of the name, but you got given the name and just research about it. And a few things came up, but just all different kind of websites. And you know, some information was different to another, but you know, it was all sort of the similar concept that, you know, he was a Jew and he was an artist, and to think that, you know, it could be like anyone else. You could be in art class and then think your teacher, okay, we've got to go onto these trains for no specific reason, and then have to work for, you know, 3-4 years of your life just for the Nazi benefit. You had to work for them, and then you just ended up being killed for nothing to do with you. So it's pretty hard, you know, pretty hard to think that he just lived his normal life and he was practically stripped of his identity and, you know, just was another Jew, if that makes sense.
And I mean, tying that sort of back to this ceremony, when you lit your candle, was that who you remembered and thought about during
Yeah, that was, and it was just very, not confronting, but just emotional, just thinking about, you know, this is for them. This is us remembering this specific person.
So you think what Alkira College does is really important? Do you think it should continue?
Yeah, it definitely should continue, and, you know, for the further years, and not just Alkira, should be worldwide almost, because there are people out there who say the Holocaust did not happen. You know, these people, you can't prove that this happened, and it's just sort of interesting to pass on the message that this did happen, and if it was recreated, how it would affect everyone's lives, and it would probably be somewhat worse, and that people don't understand back in those conditions, and, you know, without the technology that we have today, how much of a struggle it really was, because you could be a 6-year-old Jewish girl, or German girl, sorry, growing up, your parents telling you that it did not happen, and, you know, you wouldn't know. So it's good that we pass on this ceremony to the later years and remember what actually happened.